Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's live webinar presented by SCORE Fairfield County in partnership with the Darien Library on Basic Excel 2. This is the third webinar in a 5-part technology tune-up series to help bring you up to speed on the tools you need to succeed both in and outside your office. I'm Mike Clem, a business mentor at SCORE Fairfield County, and I am your moderator tonight. Our presenter tonight is Freund. More on Budley in just a minute. But first, let me provide you some brief information about SCORE. SCORE is a nationwide organization including over 11,000 volunteers with more than 300 offices around the country providing free advice to small business owners. SCORE Fairfield County is comprised of more than 130 volunteers with a wide range of industry, process, and subject matter expertise. We offer the 3 services to small business owners shown here on the screen, all of which are free. Please go to our website at fairfieldcounty.score.org to learn more and to sign up for free one-on-one business counseling. Now, let me provide you some useful information about tonight's webinar. If you have a question during the presentation, please use the chat window at any time. It's located in the lower part of your screen. We will be monitoring your questions, and we have set aside time for Q&A at the end of the presentation. Our webinar will end sharply at 7 p.m. to respect your time. The session is being recorded, and the link to the recording will be available at fairfieldcounty.score.org for the next couple of days. It's now my pleasure to introduce our speaker for tonight's webinar. Freund has been self-employed for 40 years. After graduating from Ithaca College, his national and international assignments were from corporate, magazine, and public relations clients. He has been providing IT solutions to homes and small businesses for over 20 years. He currently teaches technology life skills at King and manages the Bicultural Hebrew Academy Network. As a certified SCORE mentor, he regularly presents technology webinars and workshops throughout Fairfield County. We'll now turn it over to Budley. It's all yours.
Thank you, Mike, and hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Before we get too deep into things, a little bit of housekeeping. The first time, some of you may have heard this last week, but the first time I did a Excel workshop was at New Canaan Library, middle of winter, sub-zero weather. There were 100 people in the room, and at the end of the presentation, a fellow came up to me and said, "Do you realize that you just did Algebra 1, Trigonometry 1, and Geometry 1 in an hour?" And I understood metaphorically what he was talking about, but I said to him, "Did you read the syllabus about what was going to be covered?" And he looked at me like I had 2 heads, and he said, "No, I guess that would have been a good idea to do." So I put in this disclaimer before my next workshop, which was going to be on mail, both snail mail and email, and recounted the story to the group in February. And as my co-presenter was about a third of the way into his part of the show, someone raised their hand and said, "Why are you talking about regular mail?" And I'd never seen an entire audience all pick their head up and go, "What?" simultaneously, you know, that up and turn thing in unison. And somebody in the audience said it was in the syllabus, at which point the person who asked the question got up and left before they got to hear anything about email. So with all of that said, these are the items that I'm going to be covering. And as Mike has mentioned, I've done some webinars and workshops before. So we're going to cover all of these items in just a little bit. But there is always some other technology stuff which is important to bear in mind. The first part of it is that if you don't get what I'm saying, please ask a question. The goal of this is for you to leave with information and for you to understand what we've been talking about. Now, the other thing that's really important, if you learn nothing about Excel, bear in mind that this is probably the most important thing I talk about when I do my workshops and webinars, because this is how your business runs now. We are all reliant on technology. And if the computer that you use for day-to-day work stopped working, you still have to do those 4 things. And whether it's with a tablet, a smartphone, an old computer, have a game plan in hand and understand that you will be a leg up on a multinational corporation who had absolutely no idea of what to do when North Korea shut them down. Now, spreadsheets are a place that holds massive amounts of data. And as time has gone on and we have gotten as a society a greater understanding of the data that we are holding from people, we start to have more rules, laws, and unfortunately liabilities in this information that we gather. So keep in mind what it is that you need to use and how you store it, and whether you back it up locally or online, and do you have password protection, and that New York Shield law, which that acronym, Stop Hacks and Improve Electronic Data Security. Part of the law in New York is that if you, as a business owner, are doing business with someone who lives in New York, you are obligated to uphold this New York Shield law. And one of the aspects is, for instance, if you were at a hotel where you took information from people, you could go to the front counter upon departure if you were a native New Yorker and say, I would like you to destroy my information, please, now that I'm leaving. You don't need it anymore. And as business owner, you need to be able to demonstrate this. At a national level, there's Sarbanes-Oxley, which covers most of the financial businesses. And Graham Leach Bliley is also in the financial business area. HIPAA, you probably know from healthcare. And they're all addressing personally identifiable information, PII. Those are examples underneath that. So as you're gathering information from your customers, keep in mind, what do you need and how do you keep it safe? Now, once upon a time, Kleenex was a real bona fide company and Xerox was a bona fide company. And then generically, whether it's from a Ricoh machine or a Canon machine, you get a Xerox. And with Kleenex, you get a tissue. Office has become the same sort of thing. And there are free versions that work very much like Microsoft Office. With Macintosh computers, you get numbers, pages, and Keynote when you purchase a new machine. And then there are a couple of choices in Microsoft Office, which these days I am a huge fan and strongly advocate Office 365. I will be demonstrating in Office 365. It is $100 a year to keep your subscription current. You do not own it, you rent it. And Microsoft on their side updates the software regularly and provides you with online storage in OneDrive, 1 terabyte of storage. You cannot fill 1 terabyte of storage with spreadsheets, or to put it differently, if you do, we need to talk. Now, Office, which is now Microsoft Office as opposed to, or Microsoft 365, I'm sorry. Office is now a piece of software that you can get for your Apple device or your Android device. I want to say that again. If you go to the Play Store on Google, or you go to the App Store on Apple and you type in Office, you are going to get a single download, and it is going to include Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. Historically, you needed to install all 3 onto your phone or your tablet. Microsoft has now consolidated them into a single app, and it works really well. Also, the free version of Office, which you can download, will allow you to open documents, but you would not be able to edit them. Finally, if you've purchased your software legitimately for the desktop versions, whether it's Office 2010, Office 2013, Office 2016, you can go to office.com/backup and you can download a copy so you have the software that you've purchased. So, a couple of rules to the game in Excel, just to understand. Control-Z is undo, and the equal sign is the start of any secret formula. I will be pointing it out as we go along, but just as a basic starting point, the equal sign is where Excel gets all of its power and all of its juice. I'm also going to strongly recommend that you purchase a 2-button mouse, whether you're on an Apple computer or if you're on a PC or a laptop. A 2-button mouse, and I will show you, 2-button mouse in Excel is incredibly powerful, and it will help you get your work done quickly. Now, if you are using Microsoft 365 and you turn on autosave, Microsoft is creating copies of the work that you're doing as you go. If not, your job is to do the saving, because if you build a spreadsheet and you go from letter A to letter W and you haven't saved and there's a problem, you are going to lose all of your data and you're going to start over. So saving is really important. Save as is different from saving. Save as is another copy. And that number there, 07/31/14, that's July 31st, 2014. And then when you want to save as, so you have another copy, it's -2, then -3, and so on. Now, the difference between a copy, those multiple versions, and a backup is that a backup is somewhere else. In other words, if this computer that I was working on stopped working, blew up, sick, dead, not available to work anymore, and I didn't do a backup, I'm out of business. If you do a backup, you will have the data that you've created somewhere else available from another computer. And as I've mentioned before, OneDrive is going to allow you to auto-save as you go. So we're going to see if we can overcome some of the intimidation of spreadsheets, which they can be a little bit scary. I will admit to it. So just as a review, these are the items we're going to do. And now, with a bit of good fortune, I am hoping that you will be able to see my spreadsheet here, which I'm going to make full screen. Mike, call out if you can't see this, but hopefully everybody is looking at my spreadsheet with this very important piece of information is in column C and column D. So the first item is a pickup from last week where I was asked about hiding and protecting spreadsheets and workbooks. The spreadsheet is all of these workbooks. The workbook is each of these individual items. So the first thing to bear in mind is that I've got information in column C. Well, I go A, B, D, which means that if you didn't know and you didn't pay really close attention, you just gloss by it. So you may have to dive in a little deep to your screen here, because this cursor that I'm moving around is going to change a couple of different ways. because Excel's got a lot of power in the mouse. So when it's an empty plus sign, I can move between whatever cell I want to go to. And by the way, without the mouse, the arrow keys will move you wherever you would like to go. And if you hold down the Shift key and you move the arrow keys, you are selecting multiples. And then you can do your copy paste, whatever you would like. So that's the first item. Now let's watch this mouse. Downward pointing arrow, I can select a column. Cross pointing arrow, I can select the row. Now, if I've got double arrows and a black bar, I can make a column wider or smaller. I can do the same thing to a row. And watch carefully, please. It's very hard to see. There is a white bar in between my double line, my double arrows. And if you right click, look at all this stuff you get in a right click. And if you go down to unhide, out comes column C. Now, want to talk about columns G, H, I, and J, which we're going to do this by right click so you can see some of the incredible power that you've got in your mouse. Now, aside from all these commands, looking up here, over here is something called merge and center. It's available from the menu bar, but you get to it here as well. Left click. And now all of my columns have been split. And if I wanted to, I could, where's my no color? There we are, no fill. Where are we? There we are, no fill. Right click, no fill. Now I'm going to make this smaller. And now with a left click, I'm going to highlight those 4 columns, right mouse click, go back into merge and center, and now they've rejoined. So another important item. Let's see, what did we have? We had something hiding over in letter T. And I don't remember what I put there. Q, R, S, U. See the white bar in between the double arrows? Right mouse click, unhide. And here I stored my password. We're going to talk about that in a moment. And we're going to talk about this item here, KU Tools, which is a $50 piece of software. By the way, I've highlighted cell T11, and the information in cell T11 is right up here in my formula bar. Now, if I didn't want to be able to tinker, let's close this again. So I'm going to highlight, left click to highlight, right click, and I'm going to hide it. We get our double bar again up here. And now I'm going to protect my sheet. I don't want anybody being able to get into that column. And in order to get into that column, they are going to have to know the secret password. I have to enter the secret password twice. And now I can't get to that double bar until I unprotect my sheet And now I can unhide it. Okay. So you can hide your column. Oh, where are we? We're here. I'm going to do a right click. We're going to just sort of gussy things up along the way just so that we. Let's see. So 2 ways to hide, either column or sheet, and it is from the review menu bar. This changed in 365. As you saw, that double bar, you need a right click. And as I mentioned before, the review tab will protect and unprotect the workbooks. And then the view tab will hide a workbook. So let's go into the view tab. And you can hide or unhide. And you can password protect that too. So let's talk about these tabs down here, which are the workbooks. Because if you double click, you can change the name, hit enter. If you do a right click, you can move them around, you can change the name. A lot of things you can do. Oh, you can even give the tab a color just so that you can find it when you're looking for it. All right. So we've talked about saving and save as. We're going to get to cell linking in just a moment. We've hidden and unhidden. So let's say we're over here at N. We do a right mouse click and we can insert another item. Let's do this with some text so we know what's going on. Okay, and so now, let me make that a little larger just so everybody can see it. We're going to go back to the Home tab. I'm a big fan of Arial. It's just a habit. We'll make this. Now, double left click will make your cell wider so it will fit. And now I'm going to left click so I highlight my cell. I'm going to right click and I'm going to insert a cell. And now we've added space in here where we could put another letter. And by the way, we can center that letter or we can right justify. So lots of choices. And let's do this just so we can see what it looks like. You can move things around. There is lots of mobility in Excel. Now, one of my clients wants to use a spreadsheet to be able to make his invoices. It's not a huge business. It's a fairly simple procedure and process. So let's take a look at the bill that he makes. And I'm going to unfortunately keep this text small so you can see things. The first thing I want to call your attention to is that this date is a handwritten manual date, okay? And if you right mouse click and you go to format cells, let's move this over. You have more choices of how to make a date look than you wanted or thought that existed. And each one will change however you click. And by the way, I said Control Z is the magic oops. Control Z, we go back to what we had. Now, the other way you can make a date, and we're going to go up to the formula bar, is up here That equal sign, it's right there. Well, my arrow is pointing downward. Not going to fight with the arrows, but we have the equal sign today, open, close parens, and that is the magic formula in Excel to always have today's date. Here's the blessing and curse. If you want to timestamp what you're doing, and you can do it with the date, you can do it with an hour, you can do it with minutes, there's lots of timestamping you can do. But understand that if you need this date, if you need this date and you use this formula, you are not going to keep this. You are going to always get today. So important to bear in mind that this magic formula can be a blessing and a curse. For instance, if you've got a Word document, you can auto date in Word as well. However, if you need that date to be a reference to whatever contract or agreement or document, this could be a problem. So proceed cautiously. Now, we used bold and Arial. Put your name here. Put your date, insurance company, all of these informations. Nothing special going on particularly there. Not too much going on down here either. The place where things become really handy and useful is when you get into this area here, where if you did your counseling, you did it on these dates, you have this number of sessions, you have it at this rate, and now there's your formula. So let's do that again. So let's say we had 5 sessions, $75. And lo and behold, the numbers start to change. And this total down here is a sum of everything in this column. So let's throw a few random numbers in here just so that we can run a formula, just so you can see how things work. Let's make these a little larger. And now, take a look at our formula again. It was equal and just a couple of cell addresses. So I'm going to hit my equal sign. I'm picking my address. I'm going to hit the multiplication. I'm going to hit that, and I'm going to hit enter. That's also, I'm selecting the entire column, and we'll make that 28 point as well, just so we can see it a little better. Let's make this a little wider. So that when we go in here, we can see that. And now I'm going to add to that and my number changed. Want it back again, Control Z, and there you go. And if you look up in the formula bar, you can see that it's been added there. Now, it gets really interesting when you start to move in spreadsheets. And from a single number change, and by the way, if you would like any of these, throw a note, we can get them to you. These are all fudged numbers. You're welcome to put in whatever you would like. But I want to walk through this for a little while because there's significance to where numbers are formulas and where numbers are hard. So, hard number, arrow down, hard number, arrow down, hard number, arrow down, and now I'm doing the number of courses times the average attendance times the cost per course to get a projected earning. Now, we're going to change this number to, make it 24, and all of a sudden my numbers start changing. Not only do they change here, but they change down here as well for my total revenue in January. Let's say we sold 24 books here too, and our numbers go up again. Now, let's take a look a little farther across our spreadsheet. Remember, January is 30,000. And we can see 84. Let's move this back to the 2. And now I'm going to slide you over a little farther so we can look at the back end of things. And let's say in December, we changed this to 24. And let's say we made 78 sales. And now you start to see your changes here. You'll see your change here. If you look up, you can see what your formula is. And you'll see your change in projections for the second year, as well as the third. So as you start to make changes and you start to have formulas that are moving from one place to another, and by the way, just to go backwards for a moment, my right click is a very bright red tab now. We will find that really easily. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to, Control Z.
Hey, Budley?
Yep.
Let me interrupt you. Just, Jenny had a question, not on this example, but the prior one. If you can see that in the chat box here. I want to make sure we address that before we go too far.
Exactly. Your question related. It's formula. I have no idea what you just did. I didn't see any visual indication. Okay. Formulas. Okay. To see formulas, unfortunately, let's go back. Jenny, hopefully this will get you there. This is a hard number. We can see it up here in the formula bar. Hard number, see it in the formula bar. Oh, excuse me, one more. Hard number, see it in the formula bar. Now we see a formula which is going to be B6 times B7 times B8, which will then give me my course revenue for the month of January. I'm going to hit escape so we don't lose anything here. And now I'm going to change my number 2 to a 26. And suddenly my formula hasn't changed. I'm still using the same cells, but the numbers in the cells have changed, or the number in one cell changed. So let's back this down again. We're going to hit enter. And again, our math is B6, B7, B8, all multiplied to get that number. Then we've got a second place where we make our revenue. Hit escape so we don't change anything. We make revenue here, which again would be the number of books, the cost of the book, and then the formula is how many books did I sell times how much do I charge for them, and then you get your number. The third place we've got math going on, a formula, hit escape so we don't lose or change things, is in total revenue for the month of January. We'll walk through that again. In order to get this number, we need to be multiplying B9, course revenue, and these things get highlighted. You'll see that one in blue, and book revenue. Course revenue plus book revenue equals total revenue for the month of January. Hopefully we got you covered on that one. Now, when you change, I'm going to hit escape so we don't change our numbers. When you start to change revenue in a given month, irrespective of the month, that's going to affect your total revenue at the end of the year, which is adding these two numbers, hit escape to come out. Now, if you look closely, you'll see that the entire row is highlighted. And I'll talk through this formula here. Magic equals sign, and we're going to do a sum. It's going to be addition. Open parens, and we're starting at B14. Let's move back to B14. B14 is January, and it's my book revenue. And with a colon sign, you've told Excel, I want you to add everything between B14 and M14, which is December, and then close the parentheses. I'm going to hit escape to get out of here. And now you've added everything that was across here. Then the addition of here, N9 and N14 will give you your total revenue for the year. Now, how did we do these projections? So, great formula to look at here. Let's see if we can stretch this out. And escape. All right. This one. All right. Let's talk about this number here. Which is a very large formula here. And I'm sorry, it doesn't want to show up in the center of my column. So I'm going to highlight it up here for you. But we've taken, and we could have done this either as the B12 plus C12 all the way across there as the B12 colon M12 plus 12. Let's see if that works actually. So the first thing we need to do is we need to put in the word sum. We're going to put in our parens. Now we're going to go to our M and we're going to back this out all the way down to here. Put in my colon. Close my parens and let's see if we get a number. And there you go. So that formula can be written either as the adding of each one of those cells, or you can put your cell at the left side, put your colon, cell at the right side, or it'll work up and down, by the way. Doesn't matter whether it's side to side or up and down. So we've covered our cash flow there. Now let's go on and see what we've got, or projected net income. Let's take a look at a cash flow, where again, now we've got some negative numbers. Which is being pulled from a very long string of name. Or sum, which would be each one of the cells from there. B5 and B16, B5 and B16. So let's look at now. Oh, that's why we did it this way. Okay, so we're talking about cash flow. So you start in January and you ended up with $1,450 in cash, which is what you start February with. So we're going to make one number change and the whole spreadsheet is going to look different. And everything cascades across with a single number. Let's change this to another number. Watch 1,500 in February, and suddenly that changes. Take your number out, goes back to where it was. So the spreadsheet that you can build can be extremely complex. And as I said, if you have an interest in getting these, happy to provide it. Oh, and I'm glad I saw my tabs down here. 2 more items and then we'll be open for questions. So this is the roster of a business group that I'm in, where I've got my heading, then I've got a header, and then I've got all of my names and my phone numbers and my emails. We had talked about sorting, and the only piece that's very important to note, by the way, well, one more time, top left corner, if you click, you select the entire spreadsheet. You'd go into your data. You would go to sort. Now, if I clicked, my data has headers, Excel is only going to think about removing row 1. And unfortunately, we're going to do this, okay? Somewhere in here, well, first name, well, actually, no. First name should end up somewhere under David, Doug, and Dean. So, sort by. Actually, I'm not even getting column A because I've done a merging of cells, but let's see what we get here. All right. And as I said, first name goes under David, Doug, and Dean because I've sorted by A. Control Z brings everything back to normal as we knew it and saw it. Now, in our new world of email and keeping people up to date, this column is actually not particularly helpful. And the reason that it's not particularly helpful in Microsoft 365 is because Excel doesn't like the return as the character separating emails. So as we would add new people, for instance, left mouse click, do a right click, insert, and our new person would go in here, Control Z to bring the thing back to normal. And we go into, this is a little bit of manual labor, but if you look through this, let me make this a little larger for you so you can see it. Excel likes semicolons. So between every email, there's a semicolon. And yes, the first one is torturous, but after that, the next one is going to be colon space X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3. Where'd my at symbol go? At jkl.com. And you would add as you go along. So I think we're at a good place to say it's time to stump the professor. And truth be told, in Excel, that is pretty easy to do. So Mike, what can I answer for people?
You know, on the spreadsheet before this one, when you were playing with that formula there, a couple of people had a question of just why you had the plus 12 in that particular formula that we were doing. We had sum and then the paren and then the columns.
Was it this one?
Before that one. Yeah, it was in there.
Oh, why is there a plus 12? Because in my first year, I made this much money. In my second year, I'm going to have 12 months. So I had done my tally, and that was how I had gotten it actually from Barry Skolka. And when accountants hand things to me in a fashion, I kind of leave them there. It may be that we need a multiplier of 12. Or he was saying that you're going to project 12 more books over the course of that year, or maybe you project you're going to sell 124 more books, and now your numbers would change. So my best answer, it's a speculative number. How many more are you going to sell in your second year than your third, or your second year than your first? How many more are you going to sell in your third year?
Okay, good. Hey, another question, good one is, you noted the importance of having a 2-button mouse and the ability to right click. Can you right click without a mouse?
Oh man, there is probably a yes answer to that, but I have been touching a 2-button mouse for more years, and I will deliberately bring one with me when I go to work at places, because there is a key combination that will do it on an Apple computer. I believe that on many laptops, the touchpads have finally gotten sensitive enough that if you click on the left bottom corner, you're doing your left click. if you click on the right bottom corner, you're doing your right click. And I just had to struggle that out with somebody a couple of weeks ago.
We
That-
just got some, Billy, excuse me, we just got some good advice from Lisa saying that on Mac, if you hit Command click, it could work for you.
There you go.
Great. Thank you, Lisa.
I'm not even a one button mouse fan on Macs. I will buy a 2-button mouse for my Mac as well. What else can we stump me on? I'm very good at being stumped, by the way. Anything else? Anyone else?
Buddy, take a look back in the chat box. Ginny had another good question before the last y plus 12 question. Do you see it there? I see you manually writing these formulas, so we need to know / learn the semantics.
Oh, okay. Let's go into an empty spreadsheet because the mathematics will work. $12 arrow key over, 34 arrow key over, 57 arrow key over, 99 arrow back, 12. What did we do here? 34 down, 57 down, 99. Okay. Now, if I wanted to do equals B, I may have been lazy in one of my formulas and just hit the plus sign and worked my way through. Or if we go to here and we go, where's my equal sign? And we are D9 colon G9, enter. Oops, what did I do? Control Z. We're going to try that again. Equals D9 colon G9, enter. Now I'm being stumped. I should be able to go across. Control Z. We'll do it this way. Equal sum paren. $202. Now, let's take out these formulas here because there is an easier way to do this. And if you highlight and go up to auto sum, it will do it for you. If you highlight, go across and hit auto sum, it will do it for you. And what are they giving me? Now that's interesting. They're doing it by this formula. Oops, escape. Let's go to here. And they're doing it by that formula. Okay. Hopefully that answered the question. Anyone else? Anything else?
Yes. How do you alphabetize while not including the column headers?
The easiest way to do it is to, first I left click to highlight. And now I'm going to, come on. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, step 1, unmerge. Step 2, delete. Step 3, highlight. Now, where did my, here we are. Data, make this larger again. Sort. Now, when I say my data has headers, I can go here and now I will get my first name. Or if you want to sort by, as most people do, last name, which is how we were in the first place. So let's go back and sort by first name just for fun. Or we'll sort by business name. How's that? And if you really wanted to, well, we only had one person, but you could sort by business name and by last name, or you could sort by email. You can sort until the cows come home. Anything else?
One more for you. Joan asked, I'm not sure I quite understand this correct. Why can't you add emails in the line with the name?
Well, if you take this list of emails, copy it and put it into Outlook, you will not be able to send a mass mailing. Outlook doesn't work that way. If you put your emails into, and this is basically text, and it's a very long string of text. Watch how long this string of text is. Let's move down to here. Let's move down to here. All of this is just a string of text. It's just how Outlook thinks about the names. Outlook would not understand all of these names with what essentially would be a return as opposed to a semicolon. That's the short answer.
Okay. Hey, one more for you, Budley. How do you white out the grid lines to the right and below your active data so the spreadsheet just focuses the view on the active part?
Oh, there is a view command here. Let's see. And it's right there, and they go away. And with that, you have 2 minutes to do your wrap.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Budley. As a reminder, a recording of this webinar and the materials are available within a couple of days on the fairfieldcounty.score.org website. Part 4 in this series will be next Monday night, April 26th at 6 p.m. when Budley will be presenting basic PowerPoint. Please register for this webinar at either fairfieldcounty.score.org or darienlibrary.org. Again, SCORE offers free individual business counseling. So please use the link on the screen or visit our website and click Request a Mentor. Also, please fill out your evaluations that have been sent to you at the end of the webinar. On behalf of SCORE, I'd like to again thank the Darien Library for partnering with us in this webinar series. Thank you, Budley, very much for presenting again tonight and throughout this series. And thank you all for attending tonight's webinar. Have a nice evening.
Good night, all. Thanks for attending.